What's happening, people? What's happening? Happy Monday afternoon. Well, it is afternoon. Yeah, it is afternoon. Like you say, a little bit of a crazy one. I've got the stream later on with crypto. I was doing an edited video this morning, but it's important that obviously we clock in with the football community, because now that the international football is done, we've had a great weekend. Obviously, we need to speak about certain things. Now, as for news, there's not a lot to speak about news. So I just thought, let's have a conversation to see, are we actually the real deal, or are we just having a nice spell in the season and everybody else is playing catch up? That's what we're going to speak about today. We'll quickly go over the game, people's performances. Boy Ten's put some good questions in regards to Ben White, etc., things like this. And we'll touch on a few other things as well. But if you are new, you know the drill, people. If you do get quality, make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit subscribe. Please share, because there isn't any other channel like mine standard. I'm not going to be as crazy as Curtis, that is for sure, because Curtis is crazy. Big out Curtis, my boy. I'm glad that he enjoyed the weekend big time over the results. So, who is in the chat, people? Let me see who's in the chat. Boy 10 is in the chat. He's got some good questions. Lild, big shout out to Lild. He's saying, finally, I'm catching you live. Have missed the latest ones because of school and work. Well, listen, that's more important than catching it live, but make sure you're, moving in the right direction. So fair play to Lild. He's put Fran Biang, and not Aubameyang scored as well. Can you imagine? Boy 10 is saying, who do you think is enjoying having Saliba around more, Gabby, Ben White, or Ramsdale? Probably Ramsdale. Arguably Gabby. Ben White probably not, because he's not playing in his position, is he, to be honest? Big shout out, Fran with the bangers. Big shout out to Jack. Hope you're good. As much as I like Gabby, if we have aspirations of continuing playing a high line, we need a replacement. Interesting. Happy Monday, Seb. Happy Monday to you. Obviously, Jamrock is in a bit of saying, big up, Fran. We move. We keep it moving. So, a couple of things there. We might as well start off straight in the chat. No ramping, no messing around. Missing or messing? No messing around. And let's get into a few things. And first of all, the performance was top. I did a quick snap video. The performance, you can't argue with the performance. Me and Kurt, etc., we spoke about, and Laurie spoke about after, and you always have to bring the other sides up and say the negative side of things, because we want to be the best. We want to be, you're looking for perfection all the time when it comes to everything that you do. Football's very hard, but you're always looking for perfection. What could we have done better, etc., and things like that. And after that win, people were saying, maybe if they get stronger, if they do some good business in January, if they stay in and around the mix, title contenders. But when you look at City and you think nobody is going to get near them, if they continue this football, they're it's like the school playground, City at the moment. But we won't talk too much about City. But as for Arsenal, they are definitely moving in the right direction. Now, the Spurs game for me was a little bit of a concern. I got to admit, and probably you would probably say the same. The way Conte comes, the way that he sets up his negativity, he gets results. But when you're not getting results and you play that style, it's not liked amongst the crowd. Okay, it's not liked. I remember the level that I was playing at. A lot of the time, the ball was in the air. And I used to hate it. It was defend, get the ball forward, run after it. I used to hate it, okay? But at the end of the day, I was living my dream. I was playing football. I was earning a good living for a very long time. So I got on with it. But it was okay when you was winning. We got to 2 playoffs, Wembley once, and the Millennium, when there's building a new Wembley, etc., and things like that. So the fans forgot about it. If Spurs go and win a trophy, people will forget about it. But when you was losing, it was awful. And you can see Tottenham, the way that they play, they've got some good players. But the way that Conte is asking them to play, and they can be hard to beat, and the red card will speak about that, etc. But when they're not winning, it's awful. Now, when Arsenal are winning in the way that we're playing, it's kind of exciting. But even if we're losing, at least the players you can see are going to be trying to do the right things. The Man United game, for example, they tried to do the right things. And you're not going to be great every single game. So it was very, very hard to probably play against Spurs, but we dominated the game. I think Spurs fans would probably admit as well that we did dominate the game. Even before Emerson Royal got sent off, you probably could say that we were the one who were moving the ball a little bit better. We were the one who trying to get our attacking players in, etc., and things like that. So I think overall we deserve to win the game anyway. But how good are we? Actually, how good are we? Is it too early to tell how good we're going to be? I actually personally think. But are we then on the flip side, me included, are we waiting? Are we being a little bit biased because we're not massive fans of Arteta? Or are we sitting there kind of waiting for things to happen? When in life, we don't do that. We shouldn't do that. I definitely don't do that. So is that creeping in like, you want to be proved wrong, but you don't really quite trust Arteta, or you don't trust this? Is that creeping into our psychology? And then on the flip side, people who absolutely adore Arteta are probably thinking that we're going to win the league and we're going to be top of the league. So it's finding that balance for me to actually say, how good are we? Now, technically, we are the best in the league at the moment because we're top of the league, okay? But we know that we're not. We know Man City are the best team by an absolute country mile in the league. But are we going for a good spell? Is it all nice and rosy? And will that bad spell come to an end, and will we have problems? And then will we start to see what we're about? Because as you know, in life, you only really see how good you are when times are tough. Or are we a good team? Are we a good team? I want to know. That's what I want to talk about today. Are we a good team? You know what I mean? Are we we're top 4 team, even though we're not, if you know what I mean, by the end of the season. But you would say the way that we're playing at the moment, you would say that we're a top 4 team. But I'm interested to see what you've got to say, people. Today is just about a general chit chat, etc. As you know, my opinions, and I want your opinions as well. Seb's put, fans flipping on him, Gabriel, this early are uber short-sighted. I imagine say short-sighted. I mean, I think it's crazy to anyone to be turning around on Gabby just yet. I really, really do. Sam's put, we are just having a good spell in the season. This is about it. We still have 30 games to go. And I'm there. I'm there because I've been in teams where we've won the first 10 games and we've finished the bottom third of the season. Now, I don't think Arsenal are going to finish in the bottom half, but I've been in teams where that has happened because a quick mindset, a bad spell, a bad injuries, how do you react? All these kind of things when the bad weather, cold weather comes. There's a long, long way to go, but it's a question. It's out there. It's out there. Big up, Fran. New week, new goals. Yeah, big shout out. Just looking at Bitcoin at the minute. It's prime for a big move crypto this week. G-Dog saying, hey Fran, happy Monday, most important day of the week. Great Mondays bring great weeks. We're going to win the league. Boy 10's mocking, I think. Unless it's being serious. Might be, but I just can't see it. Beat Liverpool, and we're going to be taken serious by all others. They're all waiting for us to slip. You make a good point. Everybody is saying, this is your first test now. I get people's argument, not being bad, negative, but I get people's argument when they say Tottenham was an easier game than, say, Man United. I get people because Tottenham just don't win at our ground. They just don't win. It's not a surprise. They just don't win. So, of course, the big test was Man United. We failed that one. I think the Spurs game mentally was a bigger test. I think mentally it was a bigger test. The whole atmosphere where Spurs are unbeaten. I actually think mentally and physically, how were they going to do it? Which really impressed me. I'm all about mindset, as you know, all about that kind of stuff. That's what impressed me a lot at the weekend, of how we went about that game. Now, if Emerson Royal didn't get sent off, the game could have been very, very different. But that's football. That's football. You never hear me complain about refs. I'm not a fan. I wouldn't say I don't like people, because that's the wrong thing to say. But I'm not a fan of when people blame refs. I'm not a fan of when people blame VAR, because it evens itself out over the course of the season 9 times out of 10. So sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. It's just how it goes over the course of the season. So I'm not a massive fan of that at all. But the way that game was, it could have been very different if Emerson Royal didn't get sent off, because they were frustrating us. They were you would say they wasn't really hard to break down, but they were stubborn, etc., and things like that. But we come out of it, we move on to the next game. We've got a test. Don't get me wrong. You've seen Liverpool. People talk about Brighton. Brighton, a very, very good team. But Liverpool shown character to come back in that game and probably shouldn't have won. Obviously conceding at the last minute. So they're not firing on all cylinders. So this is the time to pick up points. This is a time to pick up points because Liverpool are going to be in the mix. Chelsea are going to be in the mix. Man United are probably going to be in the mix, because even though Man United got spanked yesterday, this Man City, most people get spanked by Man City. So Man United are probably going to be in the mix. So, Spurs are going to be in the mix. So to get points off these teams early doors in the season, it really gives you that kind of leeway and you've got a little bit of breathing room. I remember last year when we went on that 10 game and we were picking up points and no one else was picking up points. We were still in the mix of getting fourth with a few games left. And even though we went on a bad run. So if you get the points earlier on in the season, it gives you that opportunity that when you do have a blip, the pressure is still on the other teams to get the points. Excuse me. Let's be real. Poor challenge from Gabby, but it was Saka and Xhaka at fault initially. Now, the only thing I would argue about that, Lewis, is yes, but in every incident in a football match, there was always one incident that leads to another incident that leads to another incident that normally leads to a goal. All the time. Someone will give the ball away further up the pitch, and then there'll be 3 mistakes before that happens. So I get the point of Xhaka's touch puts Gabby in an awkward position, but Gabby makes the decision to go to ground when he shouldn't. So at the end of the day, it's not Xhaka's fault that Gabby gives that penalty away. Because Xhaka's touch does not dictate Gabby's decision to go to ground and make that challenge. So we have to be real and we have to be unbiased that one incident normally leads to 3 or 4 incidents which could have been rectified on the way. If a centre forward gives the ball away on the halfway line and then that other team goes and scores, yes, that's the initial problem. But there'll be 3 times probably before that ball goes in the back of the net that could have been rectified. So with Gabby, for example, it's a bad touch from Xhaka. Xhaka's gone to lay it back and he's got it wrong. Richarlison pops in. Gabby's desperate to try and block the shot, which I can see why he's gone for it. But Xhaka's touch does not dictate Gabby's bad decision making. So we must, look at it as the how it is, if you know what I mean. Lilled, it's football heritage, the same way we can't seem to beat United in the Old Trafford. Like I say, Spurs can't beat us, we can't beat United. It's weird. Same as the only difference for me is that football is loads better this year. Bit better this year, yeah. We're better, but we're not there yet, 100%. I'm not turning on Gabby. He's a good defender, but he doesn't suit a high line. All the space Spurs got yesterday came from his side and Zinny. You know what I think about Zinny. I got a lot of stick on Curtis's channel about my opinions on Zinny. Gabby was the best of what we have, but Big Sal has shown him up, and we're going to be honest here. Yes, Saliba's better, but let's be honest. Let's also be honest. Saliba was not deemed good enough by Arteta. And it's only because Saliba proved to Arteta, you got it wrong, and I am good, that now he is playing in this team. That's for sure. But Saliba just doesn't, I think when you're a defender, if you're rash and you're emotional, it goes against you. And I said this last year, and people said I was a bit harsh. Gabby is too emotional. He wants to fight the individual. He wants to prove that I'm stronger than you. He has an ego problem. And it works against you. I had it. It worked against me. It works against you because you lose concentration for split seconds in games and you make bad decisions. Hence, another bad decision that he has made. When you're calm and cool under pressure, you very rarely make bad decisions. If you look at Thiago Silva, if you look at Van Dijk, Rio Ferdinand, who were Vidic, they were calm. Sol Campbell, they were very, very calm when they played. They didn't really make rash decisions. Of course they did every so often, but that's because they controlled their environment. And I think Gabby's got to, it's a mindset thing. It's not a physicality. It's not anything like that. It's a mindset thing. But that's the difference between good, great, and poor footballers. Mindset. I want to see us get rid of those 3-game plus losing streaks. We bounce back after United. I want to see us do that again when the next loss happens. Definitely. But we're not bad at bouncing back, to be honest. Fran, thoughts on the team's mindset overall right now? They've shown a lot of character at times, of which I didn't expect. Now, after watching the documentary, which I thought was the worst documentary of All or Nothing, I've got to be honest, it was very censored. Didn't really like it. But what I did see, because it was all about Arteta, what I did like about Arteta, he is the way that I would coach. He is the way that I try and do my daily work. He is the way that I try and instill things into my wife or my children. And even though it doesn't work with my children, but the mindset, the philosophy, as you know, I'm deep into Stoicism. I practice Stoicism every morning with my journal, and that's what it's about. Physiology, and philosophy and all these kind of things that Arteta brings in creates a mindset. It creates a mindset. It's just overpowering the mini voice in your head that tries to protect you. And the mindset is definitely different. And I think that helps by bringing Gabby in, Jesus, because he's non-stop pest. He doesn't want to lose. So that mentality, I think Saliba's got a very calm mentality, and it helps people around them. And we're creating winners. That's not to say that we're going to win the league. It's not to say that we're going to be awesome this year. But the mentality is getting better and better. So I've got to admit, one thing I've got to admit, before I seen the documentary, I was not a massive fan of Arteta. But that's a prime example of you don't actually know someone. You don't know them until you know what they're like on a day-to-day basis. So that's a prime example. And coming from me, who tries to study and try and do the right things when it comes to philosophy and things like that, I should have probably known better to have judged Arteta too early than before kind of knowing his mindset, his philosophy, etc., and things like that. Now, is there things that I don't like about Arteta? 100%. However, what I do like is the mindset that he has instilled in this team to become winners. And if you ever read any old books or documentaries about the NFL and about the NBA, the best coaches were massive on mindset, because you have to be. So yeah, I think that's a good question, Lilden, and I'm massive on that. I'm massive on mindset anyway, as you know. If you watch this channel and you watch my crypto channel, the only way you become successful is if you get a powerful mind. So I'm all up for that. I love that. Thoughts on the atmosphere, the Emirates, connections there. The connection's there now. Once you get a connection with your home crowd, they can take you to next levels. You know what Liverpool's like. You know what Chelsea's like. You know what even small teams that you go to, the crowd are on you. So the Emirates has connected the fans, what they've done and everything in Arteta, they've connected the fans with what's going on. So I like that. If we can't beat this Liverpool or get a point, we don't deserve top 4. Very early, Rion, very early. 52 in the chat. Make sure you hit the like. Big shout out to the F90 squad. It's a little bit too early still, even if we don't get anything against Liverpool. But I do... It's tricky because every time we think we're going to do all right against Liverpool, you know, a Jota pops up or whatever, but they're not the same Liverpool at the moment. Whether they will be in a couple of months once they get their bearings. Diaz looks like he's going to be a top player. They could cause problems for us. But it's too early to say whether we deserve top 4 or things like that. We've got a long way to go. We've got a long way to go. Yeah, don't forget to like the video. I appreciate that. Sam's in the building. It's still early in the season, but have to enjoy these moments. I think that's the balance. I think Sam's hit the nail on the head there. It's in football, because it changes so quickly. You win a game and you're kind of already expecting maybe to lose the next game, or you're already thinking about the next game. So as fans, if you're doing that, can you imagine what it's like as a player? Can you imagine not so much as a player, because you don't really think about the game until 2-3 days before, but the management, straight to the drawing board, that game's done, iPad out, what we're going to do against Liverpool. And as fans, you don't really have time to enjoy those moments. So as much as people say, are we the real deal, and can we win the league, and Arsenal this and Arsenal that, and we've got negatives because Gabby is not quite at it at the moment, and these kind of things. But then on the flip side, you've got to really enjoy it because it changes very quickly. Excuse me. So again, enjoy it, but you've always got that little thing in your mind like, oh, well, it could be over. It's a weird one, football. It's a weird one. I think having Zinni provides so much technical security that we just haven't had at the back. He can give the ball as a get out of jail pass, and he'll show he'll somehow get these men out of jail. I mean, he's great on the ball. You don't play for Man City if you're not good on the ball. He's great on the ball. My only concern with Zinni is I don't think he's a good defender. I don't like him as a defender. I think he's very poor. I think his awareness is very, very poor because he never had to defend at Man City. But he's very, very good on the ball. We know he's great on the ball. Technically, I love the way he plays. Little Doritos in the middle of the park. It's beautiful when we've got the ball. Teams like Liverpool, could Zinni struggle? 100%. Like said, Diaz, people like this could absolutely twist Zinni up. So it's interesting to see how we go against Liverpool. It really, really is. But on the flip side, if we've got a lot of the ball, there's no reason. So I don't think Liverpool are to be feared at the moment. The only team to be feared at the moment is Man City. And they're a joke. So, they've gone to the next level now with a goal scorer. So, interesting. Nicely broken down, Captain Uncle. Lewis, I hear you, Fran. Fair point. Strikers Union, though. Strikers Union. Strikers Union. You can never call the strikers, mate. Seb's put, he went to ground in the penalty box and dead centre of the goal to try and block the shot. I don't think it's one of those, right? I actually don't think he has another option. So, yes, the pass from Xhaka's bad. So then it kind of catches Gabby on the back foot because it's a bad pass, of course, a bad layoff. Richarlison goes in front. If you look at it, the only reason it's a penalty is because Richarlison, I think, chooses not to shoot and has another touch and puts his body in the way. So it's very, very clever, very, very clever centre forward play from Richarlison. We all know what Richarlison's like. It's a very, very clever play. But with it being in the box, does Gabby have another choice? Because if he doesn't go to ground, Richarlison pulls the shot off and then he's hoping on the goalkeeper. So I think as a defender, he 100% probably has to go for that ball. But if he gets it wrong, it's a high risk. So I think it's down to Gabby's decision making, and with us not being in that position, we don't know whether we would have gone to ground or not. I more than likely probably would have gone to ground. Whereas some other players may have not. So again, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Mariko's put, he's extremely good. Yeah, he's very good. He's very good. Very, very good. Zinni's excellent on the ball. Excellent on the ball. But yeah, greetings. Must be a new one. Greetings, Mariko. I hope you are good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Big up Fran, that guy D, as always. Great support. Lilda's put, ironic that you mentioned Silva, who should have had a red last game. He should have, yeah. You got to get your shots in as a centre back. Yeah. The one thing about the Silva one, I think if you're talking about the handball the other day, he's that far out. I think the ref thinks he's got too far to travel to the goal. So that's probably why he's got away with it. Probably why he's got away with it. Got to be honest. And knowing how to, excuse me, I've had this cough or whatever it is for a while. Knowing how to die inversely teaches you how to live. There you go. If you follow Stoicism, you will know memento mori. Corey's in the building, obviously on the crypto channel as well. And I think Corey's getting involved in the Discord. Hopefully he can start trading soon. Well gone, Fran. Big shout out to you. Afternoon, Corey. Hope you are well. And Jamrock is saying, we know how to lose, so we have learned how to win. Lild's put, Fran, unrelated, but what do you think is happening with Liverpool? Just think they're finding their way. I think they struggle a little bit in the middle of the park now because of the legs. Milner, one of the greatest in the Premier League. Look, you got to say that. Henderson, again, has been great over the last 4 or 5 seasons. Thiago Silva is probably the best passer. He's got to be probably one of the best passers in world football. But he gets injured. He's got that bow-legged type body where they tend to get quite a lot of injuries. And I think they're just trying to find their way because Mane gave them that. What Jesus gives to Arsenal, that non-stop running that gets the crowd going and gets people going and can sometimes make something out of nothing. Mane's got that. Diaz has got that, but he's going to have to be there a little bit longer. But Diaz does have that, can make something out of nothing. Salah will just pop up with a goal, bam, goes silent for a bit. I just think they've not really figured out yet. I think they're 8-9 games in and they've not figured out the best dynamics of the team. That's all it is. We got our dynamics quite early in pre-season. We were good pre-season. We got the dynamics of the team quite good. It takes a while to get the dynamics right. You've seen it over the course of a season. So I think they've just not found their best way of playing yet. That's all right. That's all I think it is. Graham's put, Zinchenko isn't the greatest of defenders, but he's a very technical player. Him and Jesus have brought mentality levels up to the ground. 100%. Cannot 100% agree with that. I think it'll be prime Liverpool when we play them. I hope I'm proved wrong. Listen, it would not surprise me if prime Liverpool turn up. They'll be coming here, point to prove. They want to beat the top. All of a sudden, we're top of the league now. So you got to remember, when you're top of the league, when you're the boss man in your workplace, when you've got a business or you're earning more money than someone else, all these things, yeah, people want to knock you down. People want to knock you down. People want to talk about you. People want to do whatever. They want to knock you down. So Liverpool want to come and they want to say, wait a minute. You might be top of the league, but don't get ahead of yourself. That's what Liverpool want to do. So it's going to be a very, very hard game. I think it's going to be a different game. They move the ball quicker. They're very attacking. And it'll be a matter of who scores the most goals wins. But the game will literally be who makes the most of their attacking. It won't be like a Tottenham game where it'll be like, they'll defend, we'll try and break them down. Not with Trent bombing on, not with the way that they bomb on, none of that. Which gives us an opportunity for the likes of Saka and Martinelli to maybe get in down the sides. Their weaknesses, Liverpool's weaknesses, is behind their fullbacks. Because their fullbacks just want to get forward. So that's where you've got to utilise that. You've got to utilise in behind. Because Trent is a midfielder. He's not a right back. He's a midfielder. Well, he was a midfielder for all his life and he became a right back through Klopp. I still think he's one of the best right backs in world football. How he doesn't get in the England squad, I have no idea. But it's styles of play. Gareth Southgate's right backs don't go over the halfway line. So why would you play Trent? So there's a method to the madness in everyone thinking. But for me, the only way you beat Liverpool is getting beyond their fullbacks. It's the only way. It's the only way you beat Liverpool, in my opinion. What else we got to say? A lot of people in the chat today. 77. Big shout out to each and everyone. Is fine Monday. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and like you say, we'll be back. Now we've had that little break with the international duty, etc. Things like that. Where were we? Onyx Lens in the building. G-Dog say new contracts for Saliba and Saka. Timing crucial. Yeah, I can't see why they wouldn't sign it either. They're at an age where they can get a nice fat deal and they've got more years to even get bigger deals. So very important. And I don't think Saka would move yet. I think if we was 2 years in advance, then maybe we might have a problem with Saka. He may want to change. But you're top of the league, perfect timing to get people and their agents, in front of that contract. If we beat Paul, huge if. Will there be any hope in calming our fans? All of title talk is premature. City look unstoppable. Yeah, listen, you've got to... The title talk is crazy at the moment, okay? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Tottenham were top of the league in January under Mourinho, and then they end up finishing, So it ain't happening. Like, it ain't happening at the moment. Of course it's not. So, yeah. Bow leg type, that's true. Yeah, so they get more injuries. Jack Wilshere was the same. So players, or if anyone with bow legs, they tend to get more injuries because their body is compensating for different areas that are not strong enough. That's why they get injuries a lot. Onyx, why worry about calming fans down? They are celebrating the club. Seems weird. I think it's a strange one, as in... You've got many, many different types of fans. If you come on this channel, I'm a very detached emotional fan. I don't get hyped. I don't get crazy when we score because I've played the game for so long. You can score in the last minute and still concede in the last minute. But I get why people are going crazy. I get why people go crazy in the stands. I get why people go crazy. You know, I get it. It's just not the way that I am. I'm very, very reserved and try and control that because things change very, very quickly. But I don't think you're going to be able to calm fans down if they beat Liverpool. I can tell you that. Van Dijk will be on it. He feels threatened by a big sell. Nah, Van Dijk could just be doing Van Dijk things, mate. He'll just be doing his thing, mate. Even if he's in first gear, he's all right. If Trent has a bad game against Arsenal, the media is going to crucify him. Listen, I ain't going to get into the media, but you know the media have an agenda. You know the media have an agenda. It's their job. Look at Sterling. Morning, Fran. From Luke, do you think Liverpool have been left to plateau to an extent with no marquee signings, a lack of proper Mane replacement? You make a good point. Plateau is a killer. As you know, when you plateau at the gym, when you plateau at work, relationships, it all goes downhill unless you quickly understand that. So, yeah, you make a very, very good point. I think the loss of Mane, people were saying, I was actually surprised at how much people made of a deal of the loss of Mane. Because he's a good player, I get that. But I thought Liverpool would have enough to continue that tempo, especially with Diaz. I think Diaz is top draw. He's not on Mane's level yet, but if he adds more goals, he's going to be on Mane's level because he can destroy you. But I actually thought, you know, Mane's great. He's world class, to be honest. But I thought Liverpool had enough in their squad. But I think it's just that he's taken that, can create something out of nothing, that harassing people down, that chasing people down, that he's actually kind of fizzled out the game in modern day football. When I was playing, if you didn't run around, you didn't play. Modern day footballers work hard, but they work smarter now. So you don't see someone tearing all over the pitch, chasing everything down. Jesus does it for us, but you don't really see it no more. But before it was, you had to do it. I think that's what they're missing. I think they're missing that someone who really, really ruffles people's feathers, who gets in the opposition, causes problems, don't allow the opposition to settle. I think that's what they're missing. I really do. I don't think that people talk about midfield. Yes, they maybe need midfielders, but I think they're just missing that little bit. And once they click, Liverpool, they're going to be fine because they've got the same players. They're going to be fine. Smash up the likes, Captain Uncle is saying, sheets him out saying, big up, Fran. Do you think it's best that no one takes us Arsenal seriously? Yeah, I do. It's always better when someone don't take you seriously because you're allowed to just do your work. Look at Leicester. You and me, let's be honest, we're saying, oh, they'll fall off. 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 And everyone just kept writing them off and not giving them a chance. And look what happened. Now, the problem comes when Arsenal all of a sudden start believing their own hype. You know what it's like. When we believe our own hype, it's normally the beginning of the end. Ramsdale believed his own hype, was shocking for a short spell. People start believing their own hype. So if this Arsenal team all of a sudden think, well, we're top of the league, and start believing that they're great, then they're going to quickly come back down to earth. So we actually need the media and the pundits and everyone else to say, Arsenal are okay, but you know they're not going to win the league. They're not good enough. They're going on a good spell. And you can use that as fuel and motivation in the dressing room. You can stick it on the wall and say, look, so-and-so said that about you. I remember playing a game and the manager of the opposition, when I went into non-league, I'd finished professional football, but I went into non-league and for 2-3 seasons. And I was playing a game against my friend, my ex-strike partner, who was the manager of this other team. And they chose not to sign me. And an interview before that game was Fran's ability, top class, should have played a higher level, blah, 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 but he's inconsistent due to his emotional, whatever it was. And it was in the newspaper. So my manager at the time put it on the newspaper. Well, I went out there and bagged an hat-trick and it was never said ever again. So people will put that in the dressing rooms for motivation. So we need that. What we don't need is people saying, oh, now they're the real deal and things like that. We need to be the underdog. We don't want to be classed as the real deal. We need to be the underdog. Always need to be humble, Arsenal fans, because God is always watching us and he has a wicked sense of humour. Yeah, I know that. I know that. I know that. There's a massive potential to improve on last season, but there won't be a title challenge. Man City will win the league by a minimum of 10 points. Just my opinion, too strong for everyone. I mean, they're ridiculous at the moment. Things can change. Injuries, whatever. Things can change, but they are ridiculous at the minute. They got a goal scorer and that's all they were missing. Big Fran, what you telling me? Come on, the Gooners. I'm telling you that we're calm. We're calm, mister. I think the team are just bored of Klopp, maybe, style. Maybe that high press, that high energy. They've got bored of it because you need to change. I think you need to change every 2-3 seasons. After a while, players and manager get sick of it. I think you're absolutely spot on. Wagwan, big up the community. King James, big up yourself as well. So I don't think we're there yet. I just don't think we're there yet. So let's talk about certain players. Let's talk about certain things, etc. and things like that. Partey finally scored, people. We hit the target. Partey finally scored. But will we see him now for 2 months? We're not sure. This Saka situation with Ben White, it's hard. Because Ben White is doing an extremely good job out of position. Doesn't want to play there. He didn't sign for Arsenal to play it right back. But he's playing an excellent job. But on the flip side, getting forward and helping Saka out, he's not good. And that's killing Saka's overall game. And Saka's actually getting a bit of stick. But if you understand why Saka is not performing at the levels, it's due to the fact that no one is overlapping him and he's left with a 2-on-2. So then all of a sudden, he has to change his decision making. He's becoming too predictable going inside. Now, when it's 1-on-1, if you show him on his right foot, he's easy to defend against. But if there's an overlap and all of a sudden it's like, you know, a junction on the motorway, players don't know, they switch off and he gets half a yard. That's what Saka needs. He needs someone to distract someone else for him to get half a yard. But you'll see that as the game goes on, as the season goes on. Saliba's come in and done absolutely excellent. Gabby is just losing concentration at the moment. That's all he is. He's getting emotionally attached, he's losing concentration. Slightly out of form. I wouldn't say he's out of form, but I say he's slightly out of form because we're top of the league. We are top of the league. So for me, that's the only kind of thing that I would be looking at in the season. Xhaka, again, has produced. You can't, at the end of the day, if we're going to hammer Xhaka when he's not doing good, we've got to respect him when he's doing good. And he's doing good now. Ødegaard, again, was a little bit quiet in the game. Didn't really do much. Even when we went down to 10 men, keeps it simple. He's never gonna be the one that... He's never going to be standing out in gold drip and all that stuff. He's kind of like the little blue-eyed boy who just quietly goes about his business, etc. Jesus has really took us to a next level with his energy, how good he is in the ball. He's got a low centre of gravity. And if he stays fit, you know, we're going to have a great shift. If he doesn't stay fit, then we've got a problem because he brings so much. Listen, he's not, you know, prolific. You know what? Probably wrong for me to say that he's not prolific goal scorer. I think he is a prolific goal scorer given the opportunity. And he brings so much more. So if we lose him, big problems. And they're the things that we need to look at. So we can't really get ahead of ourselves too much. Swap Ben White for Gabby. So you see, a lot of people have said they would do that. A lot of people have said that they would, you know, take Gabby out and put Ben White in there and then put Tomiyasu. Could be. But what I do see is Gabby and Saliba have got a good partnership. So if you put White in there, all of a sudden, does then Saliba not perform as well? Because he's got White next to him. These are the dynamics you need to look at. Players need to complement each other. If they don't complement each other, it's not going to work. So as much as we might think, oh, well, drop him and put White in there and put Tommy, it might not work. We don't know that. It could do. But I don't think he deserves to get dropped. We're top of the league. I don't think no player deserves to get dropped when your team's top of the league. I really don't, because they've done the hard work. They're listening to instructions to get there. Now, you do need to rotate. This is why we need a bigger squad. You do need to rotate, but I wouldn't be dropping him. I don't think he's done enough to get dropped. That challenge can happen to anybody. That challenge can happen to anybody. It was a desperation challenge, but it can happen to anybody, you know. It really can. Hit the like, people. I really do appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to the crypto channel as well. Jamrock has put, I noticed with Partey that his off-the-ball movement speed has been tactically reduced. It seems he has been told to be more positionally aware rather than have similar strenuous recovery. You make a good point, and I've not really looked at the game over again. But what I did notice, and I spoke about it on Curtis's channel after, he looked like he was covering the ground quicker. He looked sharper. Now, is that down to the fact that he's been told to reserve energy? You don't need to be ratting everywhere. You know, this is where I want you to be. This is where you're going to be effective. And then that's good coaching again from Arteta saying, you're more effective if you stay within these areas, okay? Okay? And let someone else go and do that work, because I need you to get on the ball, break line, to get in the box, da-da-da-da-da. And it was a complete performance at the weekend. A complete performance from him. So you make a great point, and it's good that you see that during the game, that maybe he's been told that the reason he's been getting injured before is because he's been doing too much work, which sounds really strange as a footballer, but sometimes you can do too much work and you're not getting any reward for it. If you run around like a headless chicken, for example, I was a centre forward or a winger that worked like crazy, probably 7-8 miles a game. Energy levels through the roof. Runner madness. And so I was in the team to be the runner. But people would judge me on how many goals I got. But the managers really didn't when I was playing right wing. The managers used to judge me on my assists, causing problems. But ultimately, if you're a centre forward, eventually people are going to start asking your goal count. And that's where then people start questioning the level. If you want to go up a level, people say, well, how many goals has he got this season? And they'll say, yeah, but he's not in the team for that. And they say, well, he's a striker. Why is he in the team? And things like this. So Partey, he's in the team to break play, but for me, get on the ball and try and run games. So you've got to allow him the energy to do that. And that's exactly what Arteta seems to have done. And you make a great point. Very, very good point. Afternoon, Endengoon. I hope you're good. Wilson's in the building. He's saying Saliba was absolutely amazing because he was so calm, a young defender, which is extraordinary. He's very calm. He's very mature. He plays years. What's the word? He plays years ahead of his time, if that even makes sense, for want of a better explanation. You know, and normally see like that Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was like a 28-year-old world-class striker at 20. Like one of the best in the world. Absolute ridiculous Wayne Rooney prime. Michael Owen, at 19. I remember playing Michael Owen. Me and Michael Owen the same age, 19. He looked like he played 500 Premier League games. So there's some players who are so much maturer than their age. We forget Ødegaard is one of those players. They look so much older, and Saliba is one of them. He's been outstanding since his comeback. He's not been phased at all. We didn't concede in open play, so are they really that many complaints to make about defenders? No, because they're top of the league. You know, they're top of the league. So it's not going to be. Nico's put, we need to tie Saliba down to a lifetime contract. Problem you've got is the better that they get, the big dogs will try and get them. You know, for Real Madrid, a Barcelona, a PSG, in being French, a Man City, even a Chelsea, even a Liverpool come looking for him, players will leave unless we keep adding and, you know, win the league or get far in the Champions League next year if we get in the Champions League. So, but you got to time down. People these days, 5-year deals is a norm. So time down to a 5-year deal, and then have a clause in there. Have a clause. You don't have a lot of clause, but have a clause in there. Enjoy the win over Spurs, but don't get carried away. I agree. Long way to go and tough month for fixtures ahead before the World Cup. Still feel the squad is too light. I 100% agree. I cannot disagree with anything Endon you say. You're always transparent and knowledgeable, and I agree with that 100%. Wilson's put, Arsenal are doing very well at the moment. However, I do feel like Man City will win the league because their experience and quality will be different to everyone else, to be honest. Man City, if they don't win the league, it would be a crime. They are absolutely unbelievable. They're the best team that I've ever seen in the Premier League. And the best team that I've ever seen is Barcelona. But they are the best team that I've ever seen. They're probably the second best team that I've ever seen. From playing, from being an agent, from being coaching, from being now plus 40. They're the second best team that I've ever seen. Barcelona, the original, they were I don't think no one will ever be able to get better than that Barcelona team. But Man City are not far off. They're not far off. They're absolutely ridiculous. They are absolutely ridiculous. They really, really are. So for overall, you know, in about 5 minutes, I've got to cut it short, people, about 5 minutes, 50 minutes. So overall, I think enjoy what's going on with regards to, we're top of the league still now, you know, 8-9 games, etc., things like that. I do agree with Endanguna that we're not strong enough to be a serious title challengers. And I do think we're going to go for a tricky spell, but every team will go through a tricky spell. So I'm stating the obvious there. I'm stating the obvious that we're going to go for a tricky spell. Now, October is about 9 games or something crazy like that. A lot of football. And then you've got the World Cup. And then if you're on a good run and then the World Cup comes, does that distract you? You hope that no one gets injured in the World Cup and all these things and things like that. So it's very early. We're doing well. But I do believe the other teams are going to get stronger and stronger. And is this our best? If this our highest level, if this is our highest level, then we are going to struggle. So they're the types of things we need to look at. Is this the highest level that is this our ceiling with regards to the way that we playing? Now, I think maybe we've got a little bit more in the tank because the more that you play together, Partey gets fitter, etc. I think more confidence builds, brings another 5%. But how much more have we got in the tank? Whereas, you know, other teams have probably got a lot more in the tank at the moment. So just things that we need to be aware of. That's why you don't see me, you know, bantering or mocking people or saying things like that. Because of that, football changes very, very quickly. I've always said that. Onyx has put taking your Arsenal hat off, taking off your Arsenal hat and putting on your agent hat. Would you personally advise Saliba to sign a new deal? From his perspective, seems logical to me. I don't know the circumstances of where he's at, but the performance that he's having at the moment, it's very tricky because we don't know the relationship with Arteta. Clearly was a poor relationship before, so we don't know the relationship with Arteta. And you make a good point. What would I be doing if he's my client? So I think, has he got a year left? 2 years left? He's got 2 years left of a deal. They're going to try and tie him down to a deal now. If Saliba's chasing the money and the agent's chasing the money, they're going to sign now. If they're thinking about his career, they're not going to sign now. They'll sign a year from now and they'll see what happens. So from agent's point of view, if I'm trying to get him to sign a new deal because I want to get paid, I'm telling him, listen, sign a deal, secure yourself for five years, and if you keep this form, someone's going to go and buy it for 100 million anyway, and Arsenal not going to be able to turn that down. But from the player's point of view, he may be thinking, I'll just wait and see it out. I'm happy with the money I've got now and take it from there. So it really just depends on the conversations that Arteta and Saliba have had before he came back. I'm sure those bridges have been burned, but sometimes things are never forgotten. So again, till you know the story, it's very, very hard to know, you know, very, very hard. Man City are like sharks. They're devastating, absolutely devastating. Cello's put, we can get even better, especially if we strengthen in January. I think if we strengthen, we get better. Janssen, I still think we can go up another level because Saka is not at his best and we still got ESR that could come back and make an impact. Problem with his ESR, I don't think he's good enough to get in this team the way that they're playing. And where do you fit him? We're not finished article. We haven't completed a rebuild yet. I don't think we will peak for another 18 to 24 months. London is red. I am King. Big up, friend, everyone. I haven't caught a live in a long time. This is the second live we've done in a couple of weeks because now the content's coming back. Football's back, so we've got a lot to speak about this month. Busy month. And like you say, I've got the other stuff going on as well. Right, people, I'm going to have to wrap it up there because, again, I've got stream on the other one. So, as always, really, really love the support. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you enjoy the time. October is going to be a very turbulent month, okay? Make sure you look after your loved ones. God bless each and every one of you. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit the subscribe. And I will see you all on the next video. All right? Peace out. Take care. God bless.